Hi everyone. I think my talk really dovetails quite nicely with Timon's, because on his last slide he had automating human knowledge workers, and my talk will basically be about augmenting human experts with machine intelligence instead of replacing them. So who am I? I'm Peter Tegelaar. I'm Chief Data Scientist at a company called Catawiki. My background is pretty varied, so I studied basically half a kilometer away at the UvA, did 3 bachelors, master, and 2 minors in very different fields. I have to give a shout out to Vacupa, which is not on this slide, but I spotted a couple of colleagues in the audience. So I worked at Vacupa as well as a machine learning engineer. Then I was the first Dutch Y Combinator founder. Went to the US for that. So for those of you who don't know Y Combinator, they're the seed fund that did the first investments in Dropbox, in Stripe, and in Airbnb. That didn't work out for my company, so I went into finance and I wore a suit for 2 years as a quant, primarily at Deutsche Bank. Then in 2012, I moved into online advertising as a data scientist, and I've been a data scientist ever since. So, as I mentioned, I work for a company called Catawiki. So, why would you care about Catawiki? Oh, no, I forgot something. Basically, in my background, if I have to pick like one thing which is like consistent among all the industries and jobs and studies, it's one thing. It's data. I love data. So, for anybody not laughing, this is Brent Spiner. Better known as Lieutenant Commander Data from Star Trek, and the other guy, that's me. With a beard. With a beard and longer hair, so I'm kind of incognito now. So Catawiki is effectively an auction site. So you can see us as like a mix between eBay on the one hand and Christie's and Sotheby's on the other hand. So e-commerce plus auctioneers. So everything you see on the site is curated by humans. So why would you care about Catawiki? It's the fastest growing tech company in the world. So in the past 4 years, we grew 45,000%. To give you a frame of reference, Airbnb did the same thing, but took 5 years to do it. So we are backed by some impressive funds as well. So in total, we've raised about $95 million in 2 rounds. So the second one being the third largest round ever for a Dutch internet company. And we're backed by Accel Partners, the first big investor in Facebook, and Lead Edge Capital, the first big investor in Alibaba. Finally as well, final slide about how awesome Catawiki is. Basically, in terms of bank count, growing really fast as well. So I joined a year and a half ago when we had 100 people. So before that, a year before that, 35 to 100 to 400, and set to go to 700. Yeah, in like half a year. So growing really fast. So data science at Catawiki. What do we do? So we work on your run-of-the-mill e-commerce type problems, like customer lifetime value prediction, recommendation engines, cancellations predictions, churn predictions, etc. But we also have auctioneers. So this is like the human element, if you will, and there are some interesting applications there as well. But I want to take like one step back before I talk about that and sort of like touch on the broader societal theme that we have at the moment, which is basically the consensus that humans need not apply. Meaning that, okay, we have all these deep learning algorithms, and like, okay, they're breaking benchmark after benchmark. Best Go player gets defeated by machine. So you have like basically like 2 camps, or like 2 most popular opinions. Like the first one being this one. So humans need not apply. So we're all going to lose our jobs. Woohoo! We don't have to work anymore. Can sit back and chill. So same people who say that, you can also interpret it as like, okay, oh shit, all the jobs are gone. What are we going to do with all that free time? Like we're going to lose like meaning of life. Like why are we here? So I would say like that's the opinion. Like if I poll people, seems to be the most prevalent one, and the second one being like, okay, well, a bit less negative. The jobs that we know now are going to go away, but humans are so creative, we will invent new jobs that we just cannot figure out yet. So like all the people that used to work in agriculture like 100 years ago, they ended up being like, they would be web developers or something today. So, but they could not imagine that back then. So my third, if you will, like dissenting opinion is augmenting humans. And I think like a really nice template for this are so-called centaurs. So centaurs is a term that comes from chess. So in 1997, the world's best human chess player, Garry Kasparov, got defeated by IBM's Deep Blue. And after that happened, Garry basically said, well, if I would have had like a database with all the chess moves by every grandmaster ever made, I would have beaten Deep Blue. So you could say, well, okay, those are the remarks of a sore loser. But after that, the so-called freestyle chess leagues were started, where you could basically enter as one of three types of players. So either as a human, or as a chess computer, or as a so-called centaur, where you have like a human with a computer team. So, and for the past 20 years, the winner of these leagues has always been a human plus computer, so a centaur. And if you look at these games as well, like the reason why these hybrid teams win is because they combine the strengths of both the human and the machine. So the human, so the machine is very good at doing like brute force calculations, going very deep into certain positions, like looking like on a very tactical level, like what are the best moves, versus the human who is better at like the more strategic oversight and nudging the algorithm like at just the right, nudging the machine at just the right time and overriding its choices at on certain moments. So marrying these two like high-level characteristics make for the best player, if you will. So this is all like quite macro, but I want to bring it home to Catawiki and like how we implemented this principle that we've observed in chess. So as I mentioned, Catawiki has auctioneers, and we have quite a lot of them. So last time I checked, it was 166. It's probably more by now. But basically, these people are our USP, our unique selling point. So everything that you find on the site has been curated, so it has like all these guarantees. These people, so they screen items, they do estimates of like how much an item will be worth, for how much it will sell. They resolve disputes between buyers and sellers. They give feedback to the sellers, like how to improve their lot, etc., etc. So their job is composed of several different tasks. But for the scope of this talk, I just want to focus on one of them, which is estimating the closing price, the revenue, if you will. So a simplified version of what happens when a lot finds its way, like when an item finds its way on Catawiki, is basically it starts as a draft made by the seller, then it gets submitted, then if the auctioneer approves it, it finds its way into an auction, and then finally ends up being sold. So like just following the lines from left to right up until the green. So then the question is, for how much will this lot sell? So again, this is where the human expertise and the strengths of the machine get married. So the machine is basically very good at things like this. So this is like a sample of the data. So like the real data, which we fed into the algorithm, basically like thousands of columns and millions of rows. So still relatively small data, but you can enrich it and make it as big as you want yourself. But machines are very good at finding patterns in this, and also like if you make predictions to take into account like all these factors, all these features at the same time, which for a human is more difficult to do because there's also like all these cognitive biases that influence their predictions and their behavior. You can go to Wikipedia. I think there's 100 biases listed there. But there's also stuff where a machine is not good at. So at Catawiki, we sell not only things like collector's items like stamps and coins and comic books, but also like rare and exclusive items. So exclusive items like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Rolex watches, etc. But also very strange things like, for instance, this one, Napoleon's hair, or meteorites, or the Pope's skull cap. And there it's much more up in the air. It's like, how much is this thing worth? And for a machine, this is very difficult because it doesn't have any historical data, doesn't have any reference points to make a good estimate for this. So, but an auctioneer is much more like can also look in the broader scope of just like the historical data that you have and make a more like a more educated guess. It's still a guess, of course, but like can incorporate his experience into that as well. So if you would combine these two factors, so what the machine is good at and what the human is good at, what would you end up with? Quite unspectacularly, just a field where the machine lot valuation is presented as a suggestion and the auctioneer can still override it if they want. And I think this is also a feature of how AI on a more general level will be integrated into our lives as well. It will be very much in the background. It will be invisible at times as well, but like just making our lives and the lives of knowledge workers easier as well, rather than automating them away completely. So this was all still pretty much theory up until this point. So like, okay, this would make sense, but like, how did the results actually look like when we implemented this? So basically like this. Because the data is relatively reasonably sensitive, I removed any numbers from here. But basically the key takeaway is we have, as we can see, two lines here, a blue one and a green one. And the blue one is the centaur. So the centaur is the augmented auctioneer. And the augmented auctioneer, his errors are more to the left, which mean that they tend to make more smaller mistakes, which is of course what you want. So like if your prediction is less far away from like what the item actually ends up selling for, that's a good thing. So here it's like pretty unambiguous that the augmented auctioneer beats the auctioneer as an unenhanced human, if you will. It sounds pretty weird when I say human, but you get the point. So to conclude, will machines replace jobs? No, but it will change them. So again, grounding it, relating it back to Catawiki, their jobs for the easy cases or like more routine cases, okay, these are, they have to expend less time, energy, and effort on that, and they can really focus for us like on where it matters. So the high value items, the rare items, the exclusive items, and this also facilitates for Catawiki our growth, that we can leverage their actual expertise for our auctioneers, and where not, let the machine do the work. Thank you very much.
No questions?
Cool.
One question. Wow. Two questions.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you also, I'm assuming you're also looking at can the system also like predict its own how trustworthy
Mm.
specialty item, maybe your first migration, but with this one I'm really confident.
Yeah, so this is actually a very good point. So like what we also want to do is like give a range instead of like a point estimate. So, but for us, this is also running as we speak, and it's a matter of like priorities as well. Because there's like I was talking about, okay, we already have thousands of features, but we can add even more features as well, like make that more predictive versus like increasing auctioneer confidence in the tool. Yeah, good point. Cool.
When was something considered an error?
An error was basically the difference between the prediction and the highest bid.
And if the range is too big, then it's considered faulty.
If the difference is really big, then the error is just really big, and it basically means that your performance on average goes down. And in general, like from a quality assurance point of view, you don't really want like these really big errors in there.
All right, good. And for the rest, we're gonna.
What's pure machine performance?
It was somewhere in between. The
Better than human.
huh?
Better than human.
It was better than human. Yeah, for sure. But like I'm basically exactly in line with the chess analogy. So the human was beaten by the computer, and the computer was beaten by the centaur.